Bienvenue à tous. Welcome to Reporters. I'll look at the very best of France 24 from around the world. In this programme, we take you to Libya, where last year's uprising and the fall of Muammar Gaddafi have left a huge power vacuum. The interim government, the NTC, has been struggling to assert control. Many of the rebel brigades who fought in the revolution are still at large, and they refuse to give up their weapons. As a result, a regional and tribal power struggle which at times erupts into deadly violence. Our reporters Catherine Norris-Trent and James Andre travelled to the very south of Libya, deep into the Sahara Desert. There they filmed with members of the Tubus tribe who've been caught in deadly clashes with their Arab neighbours. We'll see how Tubus militia still control a huge area of southern Libya, a strategically vital zone. This is their report.
Tubus fighters are preparing for battle. The Tubus are the black minority who populate southern Libya. Recently, tensions have flared up between them and Arab tribes. These men are launching an operation to evacuate the wounded from the town of Kufra. They tell us Tubus neighbourhoods there have been under siege.
We're ready to face up to all the fighters we come across, and God willing, we will win. And we'll get out all the injured people who are trapped there.
We're in Rabiana, the last village before Kufra. Kufra is an ethnically mixed town, but one of the gateways to the Tubus territory. It's 150 kilometres away across the desert. Accurate combat information filters back slowly. Tribal leader Yahya counts 50 people killed in ethnic violence and 170 wounded.
Our neighbourhoods are surrounded. Water and electricity have been cut off. And injured people are trapped inside. There are even dead bodies which haven't been buried yet. And we haven't got a proper morgue. There's no electricity for that. The situation is disastrous.
4 militia pickup trucks head off for their perilous mission. Many of these fighters are new to war. The youngest is just 12 years old.
I'm not afraid.
No, he's not afraid. We'll be safe.
God willing, we, the young Tubus, will win.
They head off to try and force their way in. We never see them again. These accounts of deadly ethnic violence sound eerily familiar. We head west across the Sahara to the city of Saba, the other flashpoint town in southern Libya. In April, some 50 people died in clashes here. Hassan Musa, a powerful Tubus militia leader, warns that this fighting is just the beginning.
Civil war in Libya has already started. Right now, alliances are being forged between tribes. There is no state in Libya right now. The tribes are governing. With whom can we negotiate? Negotiation isn't part of the Libyan culture. Either way, there'll be a winner and a loser. Either you make sure your rights are respected by force, or you get crushed.
In this Tubus neighbourhood of Saba, scars of the fighting are everywhere. The streets are pockmarked by machine gun and mortar damage. Ahmed and his family fled Saba after the violence. He's come back to inspect the state of their home.
Look at this damage from the shooting, the bullet holes. There's so many. Look, and here you can see down here and right through the wall up there. A rocket came through here. It fell on top and landed on the ground here. There, that was a Rafale. Look, the car was hit as well.
This attack cost Ahmed's brother his life. He was killed by a shard of shrapnel.
He'd been hit in the head. He was just lying there. He was only 24 years of age.
The neighbourhood is now largely deserted. Hundreds of families have fled further south to safety. The anger, the tensions between black and Arab Libyans around here dates back decades. Gaddafi had a grand scheme to move thousands of Arabs to the south to populate the cities. He invested billions and was still building thousands of houses when the revolution broke out. Now, the power vacuum has caused old rivalries to resurface. In Hegira, another Tubu neighborhood of Saba, the mosque is packed out. An Arab resident is accused of being behind the recent ethnic violence. He's come to have his say at what becomes an impromptu trial.
There have never been problems with us. We are good people. I belong to the Ganor family, and we have never killed, beaten or harassed anyone. The problems that happened, that was nothing to do with us.
Only God knows really exactly what happened. All we know is that they had a plan and attacked us.
After half an hour of heated exchange, Mohammed has convinced local leaders.
We'd accused him of burning our houses, but he came to talk to us, and now we considered that he's innocent.
They'd accused me of being behind the trouble here, but I'm completely innocent. People came from outside the town and did all this to create problems and tensions between us and the Tubus. It doesn't add up, because we've been living together like brothers for 30 years.
The head of the Hegira neighborhood takes us to see the damage. According to him, armed men attacked the area, setting fire to houses and causing residents to flee. He accuses Libyan authorities of being mixed up in the violence.
The people in Saba attacked for reasons we just don't understand. They killed people, set fire to houses. I believe they were acting for the government. They were a mix of military men and civilians.
Hegira is a slum. Its inhabitants live in poverty. An example, they say, of how the Tubus were neglected during the 42 years of Gaddafi's rule. He even stripped many Tubus of their citizenship after an uprising in 2009.
We were marginalized compared to the other Libyans. We were under constant pressure. We were denied our rights. You can see that the population here is tired out. We're hoping now the situation will improve following the revolution.
In post-revolution Libya, the Tubus are determined to take their slice of power. This checkpoint just outside Saba marks the entrance to Tubu territory.
We're securing our state for our citizens. We're here right from Saba to the south.
Tubu militias fought as rebels during the revolution. Today, they're still not integrated into the national army, but they control a vast swathe of land stretching across Libya's south, a zone rich in water and petrol reserves. Tubu brigades patrol Libya's southern border, its frontier with Chad and Niger. This militia's headquarters are a former Gaddafi base seized during the uprising, complete with a stock of weapons, and all well beyond the reach of central government in Tripoli.
We're Tubus here. We control the border here at the moment, from east to west. It's very important. It's our land, ours. We can't just give it away.
The south of Libya is a paradise for smugglers. Weapons, drugs and immigrants flow through this strategically vital stretch of desert, a passageway between North Africa and the Sahel. Supply territory for the local wing of Al-Qaeda. Controlling it is a nightmare for authorities, and these days it's the job of the Tubus. They arrest, search and seize smugglers' cargoes. They show us a recently seized haul of drugs.
That's hashish. They smoke it. It comes from Mali. Then through Algeria, across the Niger border, to the Libyan border, then off to Egypt.
This bundle contains 30,000 euros of cannabis. The militiamen explain that the chests in this room are full of drugs, which they intend to burn. As for the drug smugglers, we're told they escaped. We head off with the militia on patrol. They claim they've still not been paid by Libya's new transitional government. Their weapons and vehicles once belonged to the Gaddafi regime. The brigade take us to an airbase now under their control, but there's not much to show, just one disused Gaddafi aircraft parked on the tarmac. The visit, though, is a chance to talk with the fighters about how they're financed.
There's a tax, a bit like a customs system. Out of 100 animals brought through, I'll take one, for example. And if a car comes through without merchandise, I'll take that. That's how we pay for things.
But we discover it's not just the traffic of weapons and drugs. The Tubus have inherited a large-scale humanitarian problem. They now have to police the massive flow of illegal immigrants hoping to make it to Europe.
Sometimes we arrest 300 people, sometimes 400, sometimes 500 people. And we do that all under our own means. We don't get any help from the state.
In limbo, waiting to be sent home, the migrants are parked in camps. Not under lock and key, but miles out in the desert, in the searing hot sun. At the time of filming, the militias were holding 850 men here, the only solution they'd found.
We are not allowed to leave. All we are asking for now is freedom. They should send us back or let us go in. Either of the two, instead of just keeping us here doing nothing.
27-year-old Tope has travelled more than 3,000 kilometres from Nigeria. He claims to work and eventually head home.
They give each person blankets. 1 to 1. Each person to 1. This is the kind of water we drink. This is where we sleep and everything. Even in the prison, prisoners, they don't suffer like this. I guess prisoners, they don't suffer like this. They eat good food, they eat what they're supposed to eat at the right time, sleep when they're supposed to sleep. But in this place, things are done the other way around. So I guess this is not even the deportation camp. This is just a place where we suffer.
Every morning and evening, the migrants are served the same rice dish to eat. Food paid for by the militias and the local population.
They're arrested, they're detained, they're under our control. But if things continue like this and the state doesn't help us, I don't know, I think we'll probably have to let them go.
It's a humanitarian time bomb. The Tubus are pressing for financial help from their government and from Europe too. But for now, it's a makeshift arrangement where laws don't apply. To try and keep control, the militia have seized the migrants' paperwork.
I'm keeping the passports to make sure they don't run away. If they had their passports, they'd definitely try and escape.
At sunset, the migrants pray, no doubt for a brighter future. In this uncertain, lawless land, it's not clear who'll be making the decisions about their fate. The government in Tripoli will have to negotiate with the Tubu tribe over who's in control. For now, though, they remain the masters of the south.
Catherine Norris-Trent is with us here in the studio. Catherine, we saw in your exclusive report there, Tubu militia that you filmed with, they seem to have a great deal of power in their hands. What do they want from the central government in Tripoli in return?
Well, they want several things. First of all, they want money to help them manage these resources that they've got on their hands. They want to be able to stay on their land and manage it as they see fit. They say they were repressed by the Gaddafi regime. Now this is their time. And they want an end to the violence that we've seen there. That came across from a lot of the people that we interviewed. And then they also want political recognition now. And this is what's at stake now. They're jostling for position in the new post-Gaddafi Libya. So some of those Tubu leaders are calling for an independent state, but that's a small faction. Some of them just calling for a federal system, perhaps. Some of them just really trying to negotiate and horse trade with central government. But what's sure is they're going to be upping their demands. They're not going to be stopping asking for money and political recognition.
You showed us in the report some of the ethnic tensions that clearly exist between the tribes in southern Libya. How long has this been developing, been brewing up?
Well, they've been brewing for several decades, even under the Gaddafi regime. There were outbreaks of violence in the 1970s and so on. But it's really flared up again now. People are very worried about the situation in those two flashpoint cities of Saba and Kufra, because at the end of the Gaddafi regime, now a huge power vacuum. And if you want, his iron-fisted regime kept everything very tightly controlled. Now it's these militias we see roaming around different parts of Libya, including in the south, who are really making the law by themselves. So it's a very volatile situation there. And we can see how it could become quite serious because the NTC, the government in Tripoli, sent some rebel brigades, former rebel brigades, from other parts of northern Libya down to the south to try and, they say, contain the violence. So we can see how that could become a very explosive situation.
I mean, this very lawlessness clearly made your task over there, yourself and James Andre, it made it very difficult, very dangerous to be there. So well done on your report, and it's good to see you back in one piece. Elections are scheduled very soon in Libya. Is this expected to solve any of these problems, Catherine?
Well, some people say they do believe in the political process, but it's very early days here. And in the south, we have to say we didn't really see any preparations or campaigning ahead of those elections. A bit in the city of Saba, but that's looking like it's not really going to solve the whole situation. Some of these Tubus people are saying they won't work with the NTC. And it's going to be a huge issue to solve. These people control a vast swathe of territory right across the Sahara, as we've seen. I mean, at one point, we drove for 28 hours in a 4x4 across the sand to get to different places. It's a huge amount of land that the central government effectively doesn't have under its control. And then there's the issues of smuggling. We know that Al-Qaeda terrorists are not far off. This is really something I don't think the elections themselves can solve, but it's something the government needs to get a handle on.
I suppose there's an issue that, although they're linked geographically by the borders of Libya, they may feel a greater allegiance to some group of people over the border in what is now another country.
Absolutely. There are definitely large Tubus populations in Niger and Chad, some of them speaking French. And they say that was used to discriminate against them, that some people in Libya say, well, they're not really Libyans because they're part of this Tubus population to the south, but they insist they are very much Libyan citizens and they want to play a role in this new country.
Catherine Norris-Trent, thank you very much indeed. If you'd like to see the report again, you can, of course, via our website, france24 in 3 languages, French, English and in Arabic. You're watching France 24. This is Reporters. Stay with us.